Welcome to Free to Speak, the New Zealand Free Speech Union podcast. If you enjoy the show, subscribe for uncensored conversations and free speech news from New Zealand and beyond.
Kia ora, and welcome to Free to Speak, the official podcast of the New Zealand Free Speech Union. I am your host, Dane Giraud, council member of the Free Speech Union, and joining us today is ACT MP Laura McClure. Kia ora, Laura. Good to have you with us.
Kia ora. Nice to be here, Dane.
Great. So we're going to be talking about your Deepfake digital harm and exploitation bill, but let's just start by getting a little bit more of a sense of you, because I've read up on you a little bit. I don't know how much our people will know. Our people may know quite a bit, to be honest, but you getting into politics wasn't necessarily an expected path for you.
No, absolutely. Look, if you were to ask me 10 years ago, where would I be? It certainly wouldn't be sitting as a member of parliament, and most certainly not under the current circumstances. So everything's changed, I would say. And one of those changes for a lot of people, it was COVID. And for me, definitely COVID was a eye-opener into all kinds of different things, but really got me more politically engaged on certain issues. And one of those ones was education. As being a parent, I was seeing what kind of work was coming home from my kids, and started, actually looking at it properly, because busy working parents don't always have oversight of their kids' education. And it was quite scary to see the lack of the basics being taught. And it really got me looking into education policies and being a bit more political. And I really love charter schools and what they offer, because I know within my family and friend circles, there are kids that have either fallen through the gaps or have things like neurodiversity. So mainstream school just isn't the answer. And I think charter schools is a great opportunity to do things differently and receive state funding, because quite a few families can't afford the things like private schools and stuff like that. So yeah, so one of the key drivers of getting into parliament.
Oh, great. Yeah, I noticed that actually during COVID. My one of my boys was bringing back homework, and I was reading it going, oh man, you're 15. This seems like really basic. It's kind of, and it made me think, have I forgotten what I was learning at the time? But what I was learning seemed to be a bit more robust or something.
See, that's a problem. Like, my son's about to be year 9, and now I can't help him with any of his math. So that's a sign that things are actually improving, and he's improved, because it's well above my head. But yeah, if my 15-year-old brought home work, I'd be really concerned if it was too easy for me, because you do forget, but you tend to forget the basics about yourself.
Yeah, I like charter schools too. I don't know why the left has such an issue with them, because culturally, you can be a lot more. You can serve people with different, families of different cultures and values and principles. Like I think for Māori, it's been wonderful having that option of charter school. So it's always struck me as an odd thing that the left would get so incensed about them. What do you think it is?
Look, I think it's the unions, to be honest. I think that the unions have whipped up a lot of false information and narratives around what a charter school does. And part of the issue is that the teachers at charter schools don't need to be unionised. And it also means that schools can offer different courses and subject matters with not necessarily like registered teachers, for example. I know one of the charter schools in Christchurch actually uses student teachers straight out of the Teachers College in Christchurch, and pays them a really good wage. They get all of the in-classroom experience and training, but under our current legislation, and it's to do with the agreements the unions have with the Ministry of Education, that would not happen at a regular school. So utilising these trainees in actually education is amazing, and it gives them a great opportunity. But the unions don't like this, because they don't have control and oversight. So there's all kinds of wild misinformation out there that they're spreading, that charter schools cost more than mainstream schools, they're taking money and resource off mainstream school, all of these things that are just completely false narratives. But it makes definitely the teachers that are unionised, which is nearly all of our teachers in New Zealand, get their heckles up a little bit around seeing another school being able to do things differently, and that whole entire, I guess, narrative that they could be getting more money and things like that. But that's not true. Often, yes, the setup of a new school is expensive, whether it's a charter or any school, but they're often utilising buildings, marae, for example, and things that a mainstream school won't use, and it's actually cheaper. So, yeah, there's a lot of false narrative, but you're right, it shouldn't be a political football, and it definitely, the left should be on board with charter schools, because it opens a whole new range of opportunity for delivery of education that can be culturally appropriate. It can be sensitive to all kinds of different needs of a community, and that is something that they should definitely be behind.
It goes to show that some people talk a good game on diversity, but when it comes to delivering, they're not really that keen on diversity. That's what it feels like to me. Like, this is one of those cases, I think. But
Oh,
yeah.
100%. They talk about diversity, empowering communities to deliver, but when you have to devolve that control down to a community, they don't want to do that. And we saw that with Oranga Tamariki before Karen Shaw became minister. They'd started sort of devolving some things to community or iwi partnerships, and under her leadership, they've really moved quickly now into actually that devolution of services to get better outcomes, because ultimately we know the state is not the right parent. And we know communities have the answer to a lot of solutions. So yeah, it's just like you say, it's a really interesting kind of a narrative that the left will play into around, being inclusive, listening to communities, being there for them, but they also want to control them. So yeah.
Definitely. Okay, well, we'll get to the topic at hand. So now your bill, now I've seen some images on your Facebook page of you holding up a blurred image, an AI image of yourself. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So are you able to talk through that? Like, what brought you to this bill? What made you aware of the problem, or made you feel that there was a problem here?
Yeah, look, coming into my role as a member of parliament, two of the areas that I'm spokesperson for is education and also mental health. And I was hearing from school principals particularly, when we'd go to talk to them about other things like attendance, they would end up talking about what had been happening with students and deepfakes. I was hearing from mental health organisations about young people, and the harm that it was being caused by the type of deepfakes that were happening. And then as a parent myself, I was hearing from friends where this had happened in their school communities. And at first I thought, it's just like Photoshop, putting a head onto someone else's body. But then I was shared some of the imagery, and it was so incredibly realistic. The only person who knows that that is a fake image is the perpetrator and the victim of this kind of I call it like a bullying abuse, that kind of thing. It's intended to humiliate and harm somebody with the types of images that we're seeing. And one of the situations that I'd heard about was a year 9 girl having this happen to her, shared amongst all her peers, and then she was so upset and distraught about it, she attempted suicide at school, which was a massive deal. And that's when I was like, isn't it illegal to do this kind of thing? And I went down that track with the people involved in the school and the police, and we identified a grey area within our current legislation and our Crimes Act and our Harmful Digital Communications Act that doesn't explicitly say synthesizing, artificially creating these kind of images of a person without their consent is illegal. So I went about creating a members bill to close that gap. And that led to deep faking myself as well to find out how easy it was to do, how realistic it was. And that was a massive eye-opener in itself with the type of images that it could produce. And some of them were clearly not like my body. A lot of them, made me 20 years younger, which was nice. But there was definitely some that were manipulated from pictures of me in my own home, and they were super realistic. And I could see how if those were shared around, nobody would be none the wiser if they were real or not. And that was like really scary.
No, it's pretty full on. I've seen some adverts for AI girlfriends and on when you go through reels, when I go through reels, and some of them are, I mean, they're smutty as hell, and they are selling as a service pornographic videos where you can face swap.
Yeah, totally.
So that's happening. That's happening from overseas. I don't know
Yeah.
how we'd regulate for that. That could get quite tricky, couldn't it?
Yeah, we probably couldn't. Like, it would be like whack-a-mole. I've had people ask me, shouldn't we be regulating platforms or app stores to not offer these kind of apps and things that can do this? And there's a couple of things that I'll say to that. One is, if it's not explicitly illegal in your country, there is no onus on an app store to not offer that, if you get what I mean. Once it is actually illegal to do this to somebody, then they do have an obligation to not offer specifically those kind of apps. Secondly, I didn't use any type of AI porn website to deepfake myself into this pornography. So any of the AI imagery technology has the ability to do this, and to try and find these websites, you'd need to use specific tag words, and you just wouldn't be able to get to with the volume of these sites that are online. You'd never be able to get to them all. So it'd be like whack-a-mole. You'd be hitting one site or one app, and then a new one would pop up. So that is why I've targeted behaviour of using one of these apps or using a website to create the pornography of someone, and then sharing that with the intent to harm or abuse them, as opposed to the sites or the technology itself.
Yeah, that's interesting. I noticed that. Like, this isn't a broad anti-AI bill, is it? You're specifically looking at non-consensual, explicit deepfakes that can be shared or used to threaten. And I mean, what else? There's a list that you'd go through there, or?
I think under the Harmful Digital Communications Act, there's basically a list of things for like revenge porn, which my bill aligns just with that. So
I'll jump in there. So that's right. So you're not. This isn't really a new law necessarily, is it? It's coming under that umbrella of the Harmful Digital Communications Act.
That's correct, and also making it explicit in the Crimes Act, just so that we're clear. But yeah, definitely there is part of the Harmful Digital Communications Act where if you, say, take a photo or make a homemade porn with a partner and then post-breakup they share that is now explicitly illegal. So it kind of falls within that category. And there are definitely some definitions of what that harm looks like. And it's already been well tested, honestly, within the courts at this point as well. So yeah, to add in artificially synthesized or generated is actually quite easy.
So what is sexually explicit? How is that defined?
Yeah,
in this bill?
So
that might seem a strange question, but I think it, because I'm going to go somewhere with it.
Yeah, look,
it's a family show. Don't worry, but I do want to go somewhere with it. But I just need to know that to start with. So how's that defined?
In this bill, it's basically like nudity.
Okay.
it's nudity or depicted to be nude or in intimate positions, which is already the same definition for, say, sharing a photo of somebody without their consent if they were naked. So it's not trying to like reinvent the wheel. What I do think will come up at the select committee, because this bill is right now in front of a select committee, I think the definition will probably be tested and tried, and that may change given whatever the submissions are and the advices of the officials as to how to exactly define that. So because it's now with the select committee, I don't have oversight or control of that. But I do expect that to be teased out exactly how it works, so that we don't unintentionally get those that might be poking fun or taking the mickey out of somebody in a comical kind of way. And that is the line, right?
Well, that's right, because we have this. There's a satire parody bill that I'm going to be submitting on. I think on
nice.
the 1st. Yeah, I'm going to go down. But like as a scenario, I was thinking, okay, say I don't want to pick on her, but say you know, a lot of people gave Tori Whānau a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
What if people made a mocking image of her with the Emperor's New Clothes type riff, saying, "Oh, the Emperor here is naked," and there's a shot of her from the back or something like that, like as stands.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's parody or satire, probably
Mm-hmm.
parody. Could that fall under it? So could there be a collision course with this parody bill coming?
It definitely shouldn't fall under my bill. However, that's also why I've sent my bill to the same select committee as the parody and satire bill, so that they can be looked at by the officials together, and to make sure we don't capture that, because I do want to make sure that we've got that freedom of expression, that freedom to be able to have a laugh still. Those are really important things that we need to protect. And at the same time, somebody who got turned down a date with someone, has had them go and create a whole bunch of images, share them amongst people and say that they're real. Like, that is the stuff we want to actually target, that kind of behaviour. So I was quite explicitly clear in the first reading of this bill, which will be that part of that intent, that it shouldn't include that parody satire aspect. And so hopefully the intent would be that the courts would read that first reading description of the bill as well, and making any determinations around any potential cases that could be brought. But there could be a risk there. So I think that's really important that the committee does look at where that line is between satire and parody, and where it's into actual harm.
Yeah, well, see, that's interesting, because if it is a nude image, I could see someone. I'm not picking on her. I could see someone like Tory or anyone really. I mean, any politician could still say, "I feel harmed by it," if there's a degree of shame that goes with it of an image. I mean, if it's going to look as realistic as any of the other images that you're talking about, they could still claim harm, couldn't they?
Possibly, and it would depend on how realistic this is, because there's also a realistic aspect or a test that the courts would need to apply as to, is this image to a true likeness of an individual, and it's not cartooned in any way, it's not used in any other kind of like comical kind of way, or any way that it's saying that it is kind of like a joke or something like that. The actual whole context of the image and what it's part of or presented as needs to be taken into account. But yes, there is 100% a risk there, and I would expect the select committee to look at that risk and to give us some information as to what level of risk would be there for those getting caught up in something like that, because we don't want that to happen. But at the same time, we don't want, because the AI is so good, creating actual nudes of you as a politician to be used in what someone thinks is comedy or satire. I wouldn't be comfortable with that. But if it was a cartoon sort of AI thing of me, or it was, certain aspects of your body naked, that could be different, right? So everyone's got a different level of tolerance for that. And the way that we define that is going to be really important.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting for free expression. It'd be because I was thinking about, I don't know if you remember it, in his first term, an artist painted Trump naked, right? And wasn't very generous with some of his body parts. And it was clearly a painting,
Mm-hmm.
but it was also super humiliating.
Mm-hmm.
Like that sort of thing. I mean, I wouldn't care. I'm not a good example, but there could be someone who could walk into an art gallery and see a clear painting of them, which is fake, but of them nude, and be really harmed by that still, even though it's clearly not real. So, yeah, I guess what is the difference here? Is the difference that, is it the malicious use of it? Is it the fact that it's being used for deceptive purposes?
I think so. It's the different type of harm that's been it's a different type of harm that I think we are seeing with the way in which these deepfake images or nudes are being used. Is, yes, definitely to humiliate. The people that it's happening to are young, vulnerable. They're not 40-year-old female like myself who might be offended, but at the same time, I'll get over that, because I know it's not real. It's used as a way to try and degrade and humiliate in a different type of way. There is a difference between something being art, I believe, and something being a clear violation of somebody's rights, and ownership over their image. And I'll be honest with you, Dane, a lot of the images put people into like the most horrible and degrading pornography. And so we're not just talking like a nude of some sort. We are genuinely talking like quite disgusting stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that the police would really
sex
want to
acts
address.
and things like that, like really full-on stuff.
Yeah.
Because it can go anywhere.
Totally.
It can do anything. I mean, it's really scary. Yeah.
It is really scary. And in some ways, it's sort of really cool and impressive that AI can do this. And then on the other hand, it's really scary that it can do this. And we need to make sure that people don't use that as a tool to abuse other people with it.
So what I'm hearing then is, like, if it was for private creation, which, and this still disturbs me, but like if you had porn with an ex-partner that you'd made and it was on your phone, and you never shared it, it was there, you looked at it from time to time, whatever, you're not breaking the law at that point. Would that be the same with AI? Like would it be illegal to, because it could be someone that you've got no connection with. You could be making these fakes just for yourself. They never get shared. They're just for you. Is that still a crime under this?
Not technically. So for the crime to happen, you have to essentially share that image either with the victim or with others in order to cause the harm. So I guess technically if someone created those images and had them on their device and nobody was to ever find that, then that could be okay, or could be argued that it's okay. But there is certain things around creating like deepfake material, deepfake nudes or pornography with individuals that if was found on your device, for example, with other stuff, I guess it could be used as an aggravating factor of other things. But it's it's not in itself a standalone crime. But the argument would be if someone found that on your phone, like a family member or an ex-partner, and they were then hurt by seeing those images, well, that then creates the crime itself. So, it would definitely really depend on it. But the type of crime that we're definitely trying to target is the ones that create it and then share it in order to cause that kind of humiliation and send people into like mental health spirals, essentially.
Yeah, because that's a crazy gray area that we just never would have even considered possible 2 years ago.
No.
Like it's unsavory. I
Totally.
do not like the thought of someone doing that with a coworker or someone that they, you know what I mean? But I guess if no one else is seeing it, but then is it deranging the person that's that's using it? That's what worries me too. It's like it's a very, I mean, and this stuff is just happening so quickly.
Oh, totally. And actually, in one of the victims, the perpetrator said that they originally made the AI deepfakes just to see what they would look like naked. And then it just escalated from there, and then it turned into this thing where they uploaded them to a bunch of porn sites and shared them with everybody, and that turned into this other thing. But you are right, like it is setting, I guess, that kind of start to other behaviors. And if you think about child pornography or something like that, often people tend to watch, say, like they watch someone younger or teens or whatever, and then it escalates into younger and younger as you don't get the same hit or response. I do actually think that deepfake in this area could be similar in the sense that, yeah, people might start using the technology for just a bit of fun. Or sometimes it could even be a bit of a joke, and then it's turning into, these other behaviors that get darker and darker. So one of the reasons I wanted to make this explicitly a crime was to send a message to society as well that it's not acceptable, and it's not okay. So it sets like a standard, if anything, and that in itself, particularly with young people, can be real powerful, because we do know with the sharing of nudes that was rife amongst young people. Like 5 or 6 years ago, if they got shared a nude on Snapchat, they'd screenshot it. Sometimes I'd share that around. And once that became illegal, the sharing of that just really dropped off a cliff. It became a thing like, okay, if I'm now sent this, I better not send it to anyone else. And so that is, in part, it's setting a standard around the type of behavior, and hopefully people realize it is illegal to actually do that. And if they went down a further path or a deeper path, they may find themselves in front of the courts at some point.
See, the libertarian in me would say that if someone really wanted to have a private relationship with some AI that they'd created based on someone and no one knows about it, I don't think it's good for them. But I don't know if the state should get involved at that point or
Totally.
not. It's just a distasteful idea, but there's plenty of distasteful ideas out there, I guess. But education on it would be smart, I think, as long as
Totally.
it was really, people knew what it could do to you, or and I guess the other thing is like, young men and women today, I don't think they sort of interact the way that I'm Generation X. I'm older than you, but we would walk up to a woman in a bar, we'd start a conversation and things like that. I worry that all of that social stuff has been on the wane anyway, and
Yeah,
this will accelerate that too until there's just this huge gulf
totally. Like,
between men and women.
if you're not going out and meeting people the same way that you used to, and your interactions are very much so online, if you're gaming online, you're spending a lot of time online, the chances of falling into some of those other behaviors are definitely more likely to occur. And on your point about if people are generating certain things for personal use, there is 100% that aspect of, yes, it's disgusting. It's possibly like we don't want to think about it. If you were to do that, though, and someone was to find it, then you'd have to be really mindful of the fact that that is, in fact, then actually illegal. But if you didn't, then, I mean, I suppose that's just completely up in the air. And I get asked a lot, would we ban AI porn and all those kind of things? And that's absolutely no. Like, we don't want the state involved in any of that. It's more about that, particularly the individuals that are finding themselves like really abused by this kind of content sharing.
Yeah, yeah. So criminal law, why criminal law? Why not more of a civil remedy? Like, why not more, because it's defamatory, isn't it? Like, you could look at it through that. I mean, defamation is really cost prohibitive, I guess. So
That
maybe I've answered my own
You've
question there.
answered your own question 100%. So, yep, in the civil courts, you could definitely take a defamation claim. The issue is that not everybody has the access to a lawyer at the
Very few of us.
yes, and that's at the cost that associated with a lawyer to be able to do something about this. And the only types of cases where I've heard of this happening is usually with like social media influencers, or actually, movie stars. There was a whole bunch of fake porn with Taylor Swift, for example, one year, and they can take civil cases for sure in the countries that they're in. New Zealand, we could do that as well. But you definitely see a barrier there, which I think is unfair given the level of harms that I'm actually seeing from this type of crime. And like I alluded to at the start, young people committing suicide, that's on the more extreme end. But even on the other end, it's a young person being afraid to have their photo taken anymore, not wanting to engage with anybody on social media, asking for their images to be removed from just school databases because they're really afraid and paranoid about what could happen with that. Even one young girl told me she just doesn't even like checking a notification or a text if it's from an unknown number, because she's worried that will be her image again. And it's like that twisted mental thing that happens, and that just follows into everyday life around that type of anxiety that it's caused and the situation. If anything, it's actually, I've seen the types of harms that are being caused by this as being sometimes higher than real images being shared online, because with the AI ability, you can make so many and spread it so much faster, and it's like near impossible to get rid of it all. So those victims won't know if those images will pop up again and when they'll pop up again, and it's impossible to get rid of them all.
Mm, mm. So you don't see this as a framework for a broader eventual AI regulation or anything? I think you've made that quite clear, haven't
No,
you? Yeah.
no, I don't see that as a bigger thing. It does get often asked though when I'm talking about my bill. I've discussed it at universities, for example, and the questions do arise around just deep faking in general. So not in the pornography category, but say using someone's identity for fraudulent purposes, foreign interference, for example, misinformation, disinformation. So there is definitely a rise in that as well, and there's a concern in that. I don't believe we as a state should be going out and creating a framework that could potentially punish all of those that are using AI for good things, and really hold us back. I think naturally what's going to happen is people are going to seek out what is real, and they will be looking for verification of things actually being real in the future. And I think there might be something that will pop up with markets around that verification over real or not real stuff, as opposed to governments having to do something there.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because like AI is everywhere. A lot of people are using it, obviously, but I think the habit we're all in is not really admitting to it too much.
That
Like if
is true.
someone says, "Oh, that's an amazing budget you put together, Dane. How did you do that?" And I was like, "Well, I was up very late last night. Oh, AI did it." I think a lot of people are doing that. So transparency and AI don't tend to go hand in hand as
Totally.
ideas at the moment. I think a lot of people are using it and they're not transparent about where and and how. So every now and again I'll read something and go, "Oh, that's a fantastic proposal you've done." Someone will go, "Oh, it's AI." I go, "Oh, okay. Well, you got me," but it's like, oh, big ups for actually admitting that, because
It's
many
true.
people would, so it's not, even though it's everywhere, and we probably should suspect many of us are using it, transparency and AI don't seem to be, two words
Yeah,
that go together that often. Yeah.
that's true. And I guess it's kind of still somewhat frowned upon to be using or utilizing AI to empower productivity, which I think is like something that we do need to, as a country and society, do better at. Like, AI is not a silver bullet. It's not always going to produce things that you definitely want. It will make your life a hell of a lot easier in a lot of different areas, like summarizing really technical large documents and things like that, I think is great. And I think that transparency part and the admitting people are using it is something that we kind of have to do, or we're just going to see it as being this big bad thing continually and not talking about how we can really enhance ourselves and our productivity with it. Because New Zealand and Australia, we're quite behind the rest of the world in adopting AI in our everyday use, whether it's at home, whether it's at work, or however we go about it.
I'm a writer and I write film and different things, and I find AI really helpful for me as a kind of as a reader, but just to throw questions at and have dialogue with, actually.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, I know it's not really doing a lot of writing for
Yeah.
me. I mean, it doesn't do writing on my scripts for me. I want everyone to know that. Um, but but I will say I'm thinking about this tonally. Has that been done before? Have you seen a film where this is turned up, and then I'll end up having a dialogue with the AI, and it will pretend, and sometimes I just go, oh, no, I don't agree with you. But it's like having an assistant in the room, really,
Absolutely. And
who
you
you're
can,
just bouncing ideas off. Like, I quite like that. I quite
yeah.
like that concept, because especially someone who's self-employed in the arts, I can't afford a
Mm.
personal assistant, so the AI can take on that role. Um, that's pretty good.
The
Yeah.
the the other really cool thing is you can actually get a personalized AI and you can train it to um to not like think like you, but to you can basically feed it, say, a bunch of like your scripts or your writings and things like that, so it can see your style as well, which means, and that's AI is just for you. So it can definitely, when it's giving you responses and ideas, it will be in line with your other things. And I know I personally have a AI that I do for like my PRs, for example, um, and that has been fed all of the different PRs that I've done over time to get a tone right. And I always change whatever has been put out by it, but it's definitely getting better. And I think it, in an environment where things are moving really quick, if you need to get something out, it's good to be able to have or utilize that skill. And I'm not embarrassed by that at all. I think it's something we should all embrace. And I just think like you said, it's great. You can ask it to do all kinds of different things, um, whether it's checking the tone of things, whether it's checking some facts or stats for you and give you a quick highlight, as long as you don't rely on that as the source of truth. That is really it.
Yeah, that's right. You have to fact check, and as long as you're not receiving all of your knowledge through
That's
it,
right.
like,
That's
I
right.
think that's a concern that I had Michael Johnston of the New Zealand Initiative on
Mm,
about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he was talking about that. And obviously, he's working in education. He's worried that people won't learn or retain anything because it's going to be in their pocket. It's like, I don't need to know about the War of the Roses in England. I can just look it up. You know what I mean? Like that. I mean, look, we're going to have gaps in our knowledge where this could fill it, and we can get knowledge quickly. But absorbing information, making our
mm,
own, coming to our own conclusions about historical events and things like that, and then being able to articulate it back is a skill. We don't want to lose that, or we don't want our young people to lose that just by saying, well, I don't need to learn anything because I'm carrying the world around in my pocket, and the AI is going
totally.
to do all the thinking for me. Like, that would be that. I think he's right. I mean, that's a concern. We don't want that happening.
Oh, absolutely. We don't want critical thinking to go out the window just
Yeah.
because we have a tool to be able to use. But I liken it to to, say, having your calculator on your phone. You still need to know the basic maths to be able to fire off those quick, discounts at a store or something like that, right?
No, I don't.
Do you get out your phone and use your calculator?
I was, I think I got 96% in my fifth form. It was called fifth form back then. Yeah, in English, and like 25% in math. Like I
See,
just went boom. Yeah.
I was kind of the same as you. I got like 53, but back then I was part of the bell curve that ended up getting downgraded to like a 49, so I failed.
Yeah,
I
I
know,
hated
so
that.
it
Even
wasn't
then, I was
great.
like, that's horrible.
I know.
Why should you passed?
Totally. I didn't know what that was about.
Yeah.
Had to
No,
I had to redo it, which was actually NCEA. Like I was on that cusp, so I had to do a year of NCEA, and that was actually quite easy. So no surprises here that some of our basics have gone downhill. But yeah, look, I think there are ways that we need to be able to use AI, and we can use it to our advantage, but you cannot replace those basic things that we need as humans to be able to go out in the world and think critically, think creatively. You're never going to get AI, for example, to replace that creative aspect. Like I see some of the art it pumps out, and yeah, it's clever, but it's pretty crap. It's not that AI slop, which you'll probably be aware of as an artist. Like,
well, it can't write jokes.
that's it.
But
Yeah.
like, interestingly enough, it can write dramatic scenes. It can do. It's a bit cheesy at times. I noticed that, but I've tested it a few times. It cannot write jokes. Its
Interesting.
jokes stink.
I was going to say, are they like real dad jokes or worse?
Well, they're worse than a dad joke. Like it's trying to it's trying to do dad jokes, which, I mean, a dad joke to me is like set up punchline. Dad jokes are just good jokes, really. A lot of them are really good jokes.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I love dad jokes. Not being a dad, but no, it's like, you're like, where's the joke? You read the punchline and go, you thought that was funny? It's like, well, it's a computer. Don't be too hard on it.
Totally. And there's
Yeah.
there's nuances in say Kiwi culture, like being a New Zealander and our type of black humor, or all those kind of things. Like there's no way that AI will ever be able to get that the same way humans can, and we can create that. So there's loads of things there, I think, that we need to protect, and we need to make sure we can do well. And I think we will do that. It'll just be for some of those things that make life simpler and easier and faster and make us more productive that we'll use AI for.
Oh, well, great. Well, look, I know you have to run, so it's probably it's a little short. I would have liked to have gone a little bit, but things happen. But that's
Sorry,
okay,
Dane.
because that's all right. I mean, I can get you back. I'm sure I could get you back.
Yeah, you can have me
anytime.
back.
Yeah,
Definitely.
okay, fantastic. We could do a panel or do anything like that. So it'd be lovely to speak to you again. It's been a really good chat on this, and you've made a lot of this quite clear. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what some of our supporters say.
Yep.
Where they think the line is. I think there is that satire thing is interesting. I can see some people at the submission stage wanting to go a little further here, so I'm going to really keep an eye on that. I think that's going to be really interesting. But no, thanks for coming and speaking to us, and we'll have you back, and fantastic. We'll speak again soon.
Thanks, Dane.
Thank you for listening to Free to Speak. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and consider sharing the podcast with others. We release new episodes regularly, and subscribing is the easiest way to stay up to date. If you have any questions, feedback or suggestions, you can contact us at podcast@fsu.nz. If you want to find out more about the New Zealand Free Speech Union, visit fsu.nz.
Okay, so I'll stop it and it'll upload now. So we just need to leave it